So in this video, I'm going to show you a realistic, evidence-based way to estimate your natural muscle potential. And it's not a magic formula, it's a system. This is the exact process I have used on myself. Good morning and welcome to week 12 leg day, day 4 of week 12. If you're new to the channel, my name is AJ and this channel is focused on breaking down how to build muscle and lose fat in a simple way, and just to show you exactly how I go about it and what has worked for me. No special secret knowledge that I have, nothing complicated, no complicated system. I just show you my workouts that I do. I do a simple push-pull leg workout routine, and the reason I created this winter cut series is to show you exactly what I do for my workouts, and more importantly, when on a cut, I show you exactly what I eat. I go through my food tracking app every day. I show you my weigh-in for the day and my average weight for the past week, and then I show you exactly what I ate the day before and what the calories and the protein targets were and what I ended up hitting. So these are things that I wish I had when I first started training and trying to recompose my body. I thought it would be really cool to just have firsthand knowledge from someone who was already doing this, who was already tracking their food, who already had targets in mind and had been there. So that's my goal, is to provide that to others. And so as I said, today is week 12 and we're in a 20-week cut, so we're over halfway through. And we've been targeting 2 pounds of fat loss per week. And we've been mostly on track with that. In week 10, we took a deload week, so we lightened our volume for the week a little bit, which allowed us to come back in week 11 and now in week 12 and to be able to, we've actually been able to continue to increase our volume. And we also did a little bit of a diet break. And the diet break had more of an effect on our weight loss than the deload. We ended up, if you look at the graph, looks like we stalled, but man, I just really think it was a benefit because it gave my mind and my body such a break. It can be hard being in a calorie deficit. And that, I think, the hardest challenge of a cut, it's not the training. Most of us enjoy training. For me specifically, it's the nutrition. It's sticking to a calorie deficit. It's not walking by my kids' leftovers and grabbing a bite over and over and then adding an extra 200 or 300 calories unintentionally to my day. So all that to say, the diet break was a much needed break and has given me a little bit more motivation to finish out this second half of the cut. So today is leg day. We have squats, Bulgarian split squats, Romanian deadlifts, single leg curls, and single leg calf raises. Let's check it out. One thing I like to do in my workouts is I do talk about just general ideas, tips and tricks around weight training and nutrition just all the time. But I do like to pick out a single topic to talk about during my rests in between sets. So today, I want to talk about how much muscle you can actually build naturally. So if you lift weights and you've spent any time in the gym, you've probably asked yourself this question at least once. How much muscle can I actually build naturally? And depending on where you look, you'll either hear people say, oh, there's no limit, brah, just keep going. Or you'll get a calculator that spits out a number and it doesn't really give you context on how it got that number, or if there's any leeway or nuance, or if you can change that, if you have any control over it. So in this video, I'm going to show you a realistic, evidence-based way to estimate your natural muscle and your natural muscle potential. And it's not a magic formula, it's a system. And this is the exact process I have used on myself. I used a DEXA scan, I used my training history and my known physiology. And the goal isn't to limit you, it's to make sure you're chasing the right goal for where you're at. By the way, spoiler alert, it's AI. I love using AI to help me determine and pursue my goals. So we're going to talk about how to use AI to find your natural muscle potential. In this video, I'm going to show you a modern way to answer this question using AI. Not by asking it for motivation or for hype, but by giving it a proper system prompt. This is the exact framework I have used with my own data, including a DEXA scan, to figure out where I sit relative to my natural potential. We've got squats, warm-up set 1. AI is incredibly powerful, but only if you ask it the right question and guide it along. If you just ask, how much muscle can I build naturally? You'll get vague answers or unrealistic optimism. And sure, you can get to the destination, you can get to the real results, but it's going to take some meandering and some guiding. You're going to have to challenge it. But if you give the AI a clear role, constraints, and a methodology with a system prompt, it can help you reason through genetics, body composition, and training history far better than a single calculator ever could, and far quicker than what the AI would do in a conversational mode. So the goal here isn't to let AI decide your limits, it's to help use it as a thinking partner so you stop training blindly. All right, squat warm-up set 2. Just a reminder, our warm-ups are 50%, 50%, 75% of our working weight. Our working weight today is 295. I've got 155 on here, which is roughly 50%. We do 10 reps at 50% and 6 to 8 reps at 75%. Step 1 is to define the question correctly. The first thing the system prompt has to do is define terms. Your natural muscle potential is not a single number, it's a range. So instead of asking AI, what's my max, which forces it to guess and give a single number, we frame the question as, based on known physiology and population data, where do I fall relative to natural ranges? This turns the problem from a prediction problem to a classification, which AI is much better at. Warm-up set 3, we've got 225 put on here, shooting for 6 to 8. By the way, you need to ask yourself, why do you care about your potential muscle composition and potential? For me, I care from an aesthetic standpoint. I want to look as good as I can, and I know that higher muscle rate as higher bone density leads to a longevity in life and a healthier life. So for me, it's like an aesthetic and longevity thing. So what I would say from an aesthetic standpoint, that makes sense for bodybuilders to know what their limits are, especially if you're wanting to stay natural and not use PEDs. But I would say it's also a little bit of a misnomer, because once you get to several years of training, you've probably already hit 80 or 90% of your natural potential. And the quickest way and the easiest way for you to actually look better and look bigger is to lose fat. So you can have 150 pounds of lean mass and be 200 pounds at about 20%. I don't know if my math is 100% right. And then if you get down to 10% body fat, say that's somewhere around 170 pounds, you will look bigger. You will look more muscular. So your body fat percentage plays a huge role into the aesthetics part of it, right? So that's one of my big things is I want to look like a superhero from the Marvel movies. But those guys, yes, they're putting on muscle. Yes, you do need to have muscle, but you also need to get to a lean body composition to be able to look bigger. Another reason you might be interested in is because you're interested in strength. Maybe you're a power lifter, or you just want to be strong and you don't care as much about the aesthetics. You just want to know how strong can I get, because that's also linked with longevity metrics and stuff like that. And what I would say is muscle growth and strength are not directly correlated after a certain point. You may, after several years of training, get to 80 to 90% of your muscle potential, and you can still be making gains in strength by improving other things like form and technique, or mind-muscle connection, or even just like getting your central nervous system used to that heavier load. And so you're reaching your absolute maximum muscle mass potential is not necessarily going to serve you the best once you've been training for a while, if you're looking for increasing strength. And then if you're talking about athletic performance, like power and speed, agility on an athletic field or a court, it's certainly not going to be the end all be all, right? You're going to be looking for those metrics, and those are definitely things, just like with strength training, that you're going to be able to improve with just training and developing skills and techniques far more than you are with building muscle mass, depending on the sport. I guess if it's CrossFit, then building muscle mass definitely helps. But again, you might be focused on getting as strong as possible for a specific sport, or cutting down body fat and getting lean so that your body weight is less so you can do more pull-ups or whatever it is. So I know that a lot of us get concerned about what our genetic potential is, how much muscle could I probably do, but I think I just want to caution against that being the end all be all final number. It's helpful to have a range and know, hey, I still have a long way to go. I've only been lifting for a year, and in the next 5 years, maybe you're at 60% of your natural potential. That's a good indication that you've got a lot of room to grow, and that you can build more muscle, and that's going to be an easy way for you to get these other strength gains or performance gains and aesthetic gains. And keep in mind, it's not a limit on you, and it's not a defining factor for you. It can be helpful to achieve goals. And that's the point I want to drive home. All right, let's get our first working set of squats. We've got 295 loaded on here. We're shooting for 3 sets of 4 or more. Yes. And I was kind of expecting this. For both bench press and deadlift this week, we were able to bump up weight, so thought there might be a chance we could do it for squats too, and we did. We got our 6 reps, so we can bump up from 295 to 305. That's called double progression for a progressive overload philosophy. The idea is simple. You have a rep range. For me, for my compound lifts, it's 4 to 6. You shoot for 4 when you're first starting. You try to get to 5. You try to get to 6. Once you get to the upper range, For me, that's 6. You add weight and then go down to the lower range of the rep range. So I did 295 at 6. I'm adding 10 pounds, 305, and now I'm going to shoot for 4 moving forward. All right, so in this system prompt, the first hard constraint that we give it is FFMI, which stands for Fat Free Mass Index. FFMI is pretty much BMI, but instead of your total body weight, it uses your lean mass relative to your height. So when you give AI your height, your body weight, and your body fat percentage, it can calculate FFMI instantly. But more importantly, it can contextualize it. So large data sets show most advanced natural lifters top out around an FFMI of around 22 to 23. Elite outliers might reach 23 or 24, and then above that, super rare without steroids or other PEDs. And in fact, when they were doing these studies, the upper end that they found, it was kind of before we were regulating bodybuilding and steroids as much as we are now. So the data can be a little skewed. And I wouldn't worry too much about it. You're looking for 22, 23, 24 as your upper limit. The thing to remember is that FFMI isn't a verdict. No, sorry. It is an upper bound filter that keeps the muscle potential analysis grounded. By the way, one of the advantages of using AI to come up with these calculations and these numbers, these ranges, is that you can combine multiple methodologies and get an aggregate. So a lot of calculators will just say, hey, this is the Casey Butt method, or the Casey Butt method. It uses your anthropometric frame size, right? So your wrist size and your ankle size, your height and stuff like that. But what we can do is we can actually use a range. So we're going to use FFMI, we'll use DEXA scan, and your ALM, which is appendicular lean mass. We will use anthropometric frame size via Casey Butt and other researchers. We'll use your training age and your rate of gain reality check, and then we put this all into a constraint-based AI system prompt, which will calculate all the different numbers and then give you a composite analysis. I should say a personalized composite analysis. All right, set 2 squats. We bumped it up to 305. We're shooting for 4 reps. Here we go. And I'm really focusing on trying to keep my knees separated, keeping my feet planted, focusing on getting on the outside, because my tendency is for my knees to cave when it gets heavy. So you might be able to notice that. You notice it start to come in and then I push it out. There you go. Last set of squats. We're still at 305. We got 4 last time. Let's hit that again. And yes, I do like to use Olympic weightlifting shoes for my squats. I've got a bit of a raised heel, which just makes it easier. I don't have the best mobility, but for everything else, I like to go with a flatter heel. I just got these for Christmas, some Noble regular training. I use the Reebok Nano 8s, one of the old shoes for years, and only upgraded, I say upgraded, only got new shoes because the insole was starting to come out a little bit. We're talking after 10 years. So FYI, I'm not sponsored or selling anything. I'm just saying I like using elevated heel for squats and not elevated heel for everything. All right, for Bulgarian split squats, we've got 35s in each hand. We're shooting for 8. I know I've said this before. They look easier than they are. They are harder than they look. All right, second set, Bulgarian split squats. And one thing I'll say, I do like to start on the right leg. Left leg is my dominant leg, so I like to start on the right leg. And that way, as I get tired on those last sets, I'm on my stronger quote unquote leg. I don't know if that's right or wrong, it's just what I do. So step 3 is getting your body fat percentage. Even better would be a DEXA scan so you can feed AI better data, because the AI can only reason with the data that you give it. If your body fat estimate is wrong, everything else downstream is going to be wrong. So that's why DEXA scans matter so much in this process. Not everyone can afford a DEXA scan. I've gone over it in another video, the different methodologies for trying to get your body fat percentage. I think we've talked about the different scales. We talked about body calipers. We talked about the 4-compartment model. So I think the biggest thing is just, as long as you have been using the same methodology for several weeks and it's been somewhat consistent and you've been able to see steady progress, it should be close enough. The reason why DEXA has an upper hand when it comes to muscle mass potential is because it does give lean mass and fat, but more importantly, it gives us appendicular lean mass. So that's your arms and your legs. And that's our best proxy for actual skeletal muscle. So if you have the $100, $200 to spend on that, great. You can feed that to the system prompt and you're no longer guessing. You're giving AI measured constraints, not vibes. But I would still recommend trying to get body fat percentage in one of the other methodologies and be realistic, like hedge higher for body fat percentage, because most of the scales and the Navy method, they're going to be more forgiving. They're going to say your body fat percentage is probably lower than it is. So always give it a buffer of a percentage or 2 or 3. I have no idea if this angle is a good idea or a bad idea. Final set, Bulgarian split squats. See, this may look like trash or it may look super cool. I don't know. All right, we've got Romanian deadlifts, 185 loaded on there, shooting for 3 sets of 6. 7. Why not? The next instruction for the system prompt is to account for frame size. And this is wrist and ankle circumference. These act as a proxy for skeletal muscle size and muscle attachment surface. Two people could give AI the same height and body fat, but if one person has much larger joints, their realistic ceiling is going to be higher. So this is where AI actually outperforms simple calculators because it can explain why two similar looking inputs can lead to different outcomes instead of pretending that everyone is built the same. All right, set 2 of our RDLs. Got 7 on the first one. Let's shoot for that again. Step 5 is to look at your training history and give a bit of a reality check. In the system prompt, this forces AI to look at time, years trained, strength trends, plateaus. This prevents the most common mistake people make when prevents the most common mistake people make when estimating their muscle potential, assuming their future gains will look like their past gains. If you've been training for 6 to 10 years pretty seriously, progress has slowed, the system interprets that as proximity to your ceiling, not as a failure. And conversely, if you've only been training for 0, 1, 2 years, it doesn't make it seem like, oh, you have so much farther to go. It views it as your potential is greater for gaining more muscle. So it's not about predicting your future, it's just about recognizing patterns and the potential for the future. All right, last set, RDLs. All right, we've got our single leg curls, you know. Whew. Feels heavier than last week. All right, next, it's the system prompt. How does this all come together? When you combine all of this, you don't ask AI for a number, you give it a role, you give it data, and you give it constraints. And then the system prompt tells the model who it is, a natural lifting expert, what tools to use, FFMI, body fat, lean mass, frame size. And then it also gives it constraints of what not to do. Don't exaggerate or add hype. The output isn't a fantasy ceiling, it's a range within reason. Step 7 is this has potential impact and changes to your training. Because once the system tells you that you're advanced or that you're close to your ceiling, it changes everything, right? Because the goal stops being get bigger at all costs and it becomes maintain strength, get leaner, improve proportions and density, and avoid injuries. AI doesn't replace coaching, but it does stop you from chasing the wrong goal. All right, leg curls set 2. Here we go. We've got single leg calf raises. I've got 135 loaded on, and I think we're shooting for 10 each foot. Yeah, let me get to a good place here. One of the reasons I love doing single leg exercises or single limb exercises is that it can expose balances. And so that first set of calf raises, I can definitely tell my right calf, not as strong as my left one. Makes sense, my left leg is my dominant leg, but I first noticed it last week when we did these, and my right calf was actually sore for days afterwards. And so I think it's just working a little bit harder, and hopefully isolating it, this is going to give it a chance to catch up. The other thing I love about this calf raise is that doing it on an elevated platform allows you to get a really nice stretch, and the stretch itself is worth it. It feels so good. Highly recommend. All right, so that's it. If you're interested in finding out the exact system prompt that I use, just post in the comments and I'll pin it. If we get interest in it, I'll share. I'd be happy to hear from you how it has worked for you. Does it seem accurate? Is it helpful or not? Is there anything that you think it's missing or that you would add? Hopefully you can see that AI can be helpful in helping you customize and personalize your fitness and training and nutrition goals. It doesn't make you train harder or better, but hopefully it's a little bit smarter. And I think it's good for personalizing whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. Giving it that context will allow it to give you a better plan. So if you care about lifting long term, not just about hype, consider liking and subscribing, because once you understand the system, you can stop chasing ghosts. Ooh, and I will say these slower single leg exercises, you can compound lifts like squats. Deadlift engages your core and a lot of muscles and stuff like that. But man, I don't sweat near as much. Part of it, I guess, is that I started with the heavy compound stuff, but these single leg exercises kick my butt. Just going slow and focusing on one limb. I'm sweating so much just from these last two exercises. All right, let's get our last set of calf raises. I'm gonna move the camera. Let's see if we can get a better view of what's going on over there. All right. Let's scooch it over a smidge. All right, let's try that. Left side. All right, hopefully you've stuck with me and waited, because we're going to do our check-in where we go over our weight and our nutrition. So today we weighed in at 188.1, which is great. That's what I wanted to see. We're bringing our average for the week down to 189.7. Our goal for the week is to get down to 189.3, because last week we were 191.3. We want to be shooting for 2 pounds of weight loss per week. So I was a little nervous because, I had a good dip from Tuesday to Wednesday. I was worried it was going to pop back up because of water weight. Because let me show you. Yesterday was my son's birthday. Happy birthday. But in the morning, I had donuts. I just can't say no to donuts. I mean, I have to have a Boston cream. So good. And then I tried out Chipotle's high protein menu in the evening, but I also got chips. And I had a few before I started like weighing them and measuring them. So I was worried that I was going to have like an unexpected sodium bloat and some extra water weight, basically just from the donut, extra carbs, chips and Chipotle, extra sodium, and then cookies, again, extra carbs. So maybe I did hold on to a little bit more water weight, but maybe that was just counterbalanced by the fat loss that I've actually seen, or, maybe none of us can ever know. And that's why we weigh ourselves every day, so we can get the average and we don't give too much credence and importance to daily swings. So all that to say, I was pleased with the weight, and hopefully we'll continue to be on track. Yesterday, the total calories was still reasonable, 1,841 and 177 grams of protein. Reasonable targets that we hit. I shoot for 180 to 200 grams of protein, so we're close. But this is a couple of days that I've been at 1,800, and I like to shoot for 1,800 and 1,900 on average for the week. So that means that I probably need to have a couple more Monday days where I was closer to 1,600 like this if I want to be in that 1,800 to 1,900 average, because Saturday we're having a birthday party. I want to have some cake and some pizza. So I need to be cognizant that I'm going to have a higher calorie day. So I need to offset that with a couple of lower calorie days. So that's the plan for today, is to try to get back down closer to 1,600 calories. Probably do that Thursday and Friday if we can. But yeah, that's it for today. If you want to find out more about what I eat outside of just like the app with the physical food I've posted a video hopefully recently about what I eat in a day. If that's helpful and you want to see more of those, let me know in the comments. See you next time.